everyone and welcome back to my channel, and if you are new here then hello and welcome. My name's Alexis and I post 2 videos a week on a Tuesday and a Thursday at 7 AM. So if you love a recipe video like this one and you want to see more, then please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And now I'm going to share with you how to make my delicious apple, pecan and sweet cinnamon biscuits or cookies. As I just mentioned, today I want to share with you how to make my delicious apple, pecan and sweet cinnamon biscuits or cookies. These are really yummy and they are really easy to make as well. My husband, son and I love them. I've even shared them with friends who really enjoyed them as well. They are a brilliant after dinner treat or after lunch treat, but they also make a nice snack as well. So I'm going to be making some for us today. Our biscuit barrel is empty, so I thought this was the perfect time. So while I was making them, of course, I thought I'd share the recipe with you. So here is how to make my delicious apple, pecan and sweet cinnamon biscuits or cookies. To start this process, I have weighed and measured my dry ingredients. So I've got about 200 grams of ground oats. I'm just going to put into my food processor, not ground oats, just oats. They are gluten-free ones because I do have a small gluten intolerance, but you can use ordinary oats if you want to, it doesn't make a difference. And then I've also got in this bowl here about 200 grams of rice flour as well that I'm going to tip in. And then I've got about 60 grams of pecans that I'm also going to put in. And then I have 1 teaspoon of baking powder. I'm just going to put in like that. And then I've got my ground sweet cinnamon. Now if you can't get ground sweet cinnamon, you can always use cinnamon. Ground sweet cinnamon does give it a very cinnamony flavour, if that makes sense. So yes, we love ground sweet cinnamon, but if you can't get it then you can always use ground cinnamon. And there is about a tablespoon in there, so I'm just going to tip that all in. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to blend all of these ingredients together. But while I'm blending, I'm just going to get to the top as well. Like so. So I've blended these ingredients until they have formed a flour. So I've blended them all together and they should look like a flour once they've been blended. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of these ingredients into a bowl like so. If I don't make a complete mess, oh dear. Right, so I put those all into a bowl and I'm just going to set these aside now and tidy that up. I have finished tidying up and now I'm going to deal with the wet ingredients. So we just dealt with the dry ingredients, so now I've got to deal with the wet ones. So in this bowl here I have about 150 grams of coconut sugar. If you can't get coconut sugar then you can always use brown sugar if you want to, or a sugar of your choice. I just prefer coconut sugar because it slides through the liver slightly easier than normal sugar. There is a whole science to that as well, I promise you. So I'm just going to put that bowl down there. And now I'm going to add about 100 grams of butter. So I have less butter to add. Normally I would add 150 grams of butter and 150 grams of sugar together, but because I've got some apple puree here, I didn't want to make the wet ingredients too wet, if that makes sense. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to blend these ingredients together. I have creamed the butter and the sugar together, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add about 3 tablespoons of the apple puree. So this is an apple and pear puree that I made earlier. I will link the recipe in the description box below for you on YouTube, so please go check that out if you are interested in making that. But for now I'm just going to cream all of these ingredients together again. the butter and the sugar and the apple puree together. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my dry ingredients. So the flour that we made earlier, I'm just going to add to the wet ingredients like so. And I'm going to mix the wet ingredients with the dry ingredients until I form a dough ball basically. So I want a big ball of dough to form from this amount of ingredients. So hopefully that will happen. So I'm just going to continue to mix the flour into the wet ingredients. Now I'm going to roll out the biscuit dough and make the biscuits, and I have a rolling pin here and I have my cookie cutter as well. So I'm just going to grab a piece of the dough, but first I'm going to put down some flour like so, and then I'm going to grab a big piece of the dough. Now this dough might be quite wet because of the apple in it. So the apple puree does make this dough quite wet, but these biscuits will go very hard, I promise you. So I'm just going to roll out the biscuit dough like so, or cookie dough, like this. And then I'm just going to cut my cookies. You can use any type of shape you like if you want to. I just have these in my cupboard, and these are the ones I normally use when I make cookies. We do have some big aeroplanes in there, but they are very big, so I don't tend to use those. So I'm just going to cut the cookie dough until I've used up all of the dough. I've finished rolling out the dough, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop these into the fridge for about 30 minutes, I'd say, just until the oven preheats basically. And the reason I do that is I find that when I put biscuits in the oven from cold, they're actually slightly crunchier when they come out. So that's why I always put them in the fridge. So as I said, I'm off to put these into the fridge for about 30 minutes now. While the biscuits are in the fridge, I'm going to preheat the oven to 200 degrees. The biscuits or cookies have been in the fridge for a good half an hour now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer them to my baking trays. So the baking trays that I have are Pampered Chef baking trays. So these are stoneware. And the reason I like to use these is because I find that they cook everything quite evenly. So if you wanted healthy fish fingers, these are the things to buy. Unfortunately, I broke one of my Pampered Chef stoneware and I had to buy one from Amazon. It's still as good, but not as good as the Pampered Chef one, I don't think. Pampered Chef used to be in the UK, but unfortunately they are no longer here. But if you can get hold of stoneware, then it is good stuff, I have to say. If you're not using stoneware, then you can always use a baking tray with parchment paper or greaseproof paper and just oil the paper before you start to put the biscuits on. And now what I'm doing is I'm just simply placing all of the biscuits onto the baking trays like so, and I'm just going to continue to do this now. I'm now going to pop the biscuits into the oven for about 12 to 15 minutes, or until they go a lovely golden brown colour. The biscuits, as you can see, are a lovely golden brown colour, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these out of the oven and I'm going to leave them to cool. I have transferred the biscuits or cookies to a cooling rack, and I'm just going to try one now, see how it tastes. It smells good. They're lovely. They're really crunchy as well. Oh, they're good, yeah. So I'm going to leave these to cool completely, and then I'll transfer them to a biscuit tin, and that is the biscuits done. That's how you make my delicious apple, pecan and sweet cinnamon biscuits, and that recipe I will link in the description box below for you. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be having a couple of these with a cup of tea later on, and I'm really looking forward to it. They smell and taste so good, I can't wait. So for now, that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to give me a big thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and please feel free to leave any comments below. And please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. See you all soon. Bye.